We are back for the mums today on the Newstrength Way Podcast. We've got Jess back in the studio and we are talking about mums and mindset today. So welcome back, Jess.
Thank you so much for having me back on the podcast. It feels exciting and fun, and I look forward to whatever we speak about in today's session.
So throwing Jess in the deep end here. We didn't actually prep too much of this. We are just going for it. As you guys know, if you've listened to the last episode with Jess on, she is such a wealth of knowledge and she understands this stuff so well that I didn't even give her time to prepare. I just brought her in, pressed record, and we are going. So first up, we're going to take it from talking about what do we hear pop up from a mindset way for the experiences, particularly the mums that are getting back into the gym, trying to find how they work that juggle when they're maybe been trying to do it for a little while now, but then just needing that little kick. And what are those experiences that they're going through? What do you hear when you talk to the mums?
Yes. Okay. So similarly, I have trouble pronouncing that word, to my last episode that we spoke about on the podcast, when new mums are at that stage where they do have a little bit of capacity to look at doing a gym routine, which first of all is a huge win. I think any mom that gets to that point, no matter where they're at in parenthood or motherhood, where they actually lean into that courage, take ownership to say, you know what, I'm going to book myself in to a gym and start going, is a really under-celebrated action. I feel most mums can be given a lot of encouragement and find a lot of momentum from just stopping and reflecting on how big of an action that is, even though in their previous life to having kids, it might not have seemed like a very impactful action. But as we know, for the mums listening, when we become a mum, just brushing our teeth is really hard. So if we're at that point in our motherhood journey where our capacity opens up and we're like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym, that to me is something that is worth celebrating. So first of all, we want to celebrate that. So then when they do get into the gym, what I experience or what I see and what my mums that I'm working with are sharing is they are opening up about struggling under the load of motherhood. And so this could include everything outside of the gym. But if we look internally, this could be how they perceive themselves. So who they're seeing in the mirror is something that they struggle with. Their ability to function and how, say, for example, I don't like using this word, but it's like how weak they may feel in their body, how foreign they may feel in their body when they're applying the strength and the workout can also be something that they struggle with. And also isolation. So motherhood can be isolating. And more often than not, and this is not for every mum, but we might be abandoning ourselves in that process of becoming a mother because all of our priorities change and they shift. So we're really seeking, and my mums that I work with are really seeking connection, and they're looking for community, and they're looking for mums who are going through similar struggles, and they're looking for a safe space.
And what about, obviously, when we talk about that, we're talking about the mums who are being able to make it work and in at least getting started and taking those first steps. What about the mums that we do often hear people when they're first inquiring with the gym, it's like they've tried before and then they've just fallen off after the week. And then sometimes these mums as well, we'll get on the phone with them initially, or Nate does all the calls. And then they get that far, but one of the kids cracks it and they're like, oh, I'll give you a call again another day. And a lot of those ones don't ever get back into the swing of things because of the juggle there. Like, what about we often see the mums that start and fall off after a week and can't get it there. And I feel like sometimes they start to feel like they're the problem in that situation. They can't figure out how to make it work again.
Yeah. Great point there. So I'll say two things here. The first thing is getting started and like cultivating the momentum can be really hard. So when a new mum comes in, based off that first interaction that they have with Nathan, he should have been able to collect the information that gives us awareness on all the barriers that they're experiencing in their life outside of the gym. And if we as their support team can be very aware of what those things are, we can implement strategies and systems and support that's going to best help the mum integrate into the gym community. So there is that starting point of where we're trying to get started and we just can't quite get off the floor. So generally, for me, especially with my journey, I was only making like one training session a week. Ideally, we want mums to come in and try and get at least 2 to 3. So I think we have to be gentle and supportive and like realistic that when a mum may first come in, that if their barriers or their environment outside of the gym are really big and take up a lot of space and capacity, it is a big win for them just to make it once a week. Ideally, we want to try and foster more frequency and really bring the systems and the pathway to the mum that sets them up for success. So I think meeting them where they're at is really important by understanding who they are, the struggles that they're currently going through, and what barriers they may experience outside of the gym. And then say it would be realistic for you to try and get in at least 1 to 2 times a week. And if they can see themselves adhering to that, and each week they get to the gym and they're doing the 2 sessions, and that self-belief starts to build as well. And then because obviously a result of doing that consistently, then they may feel that they're functioning better, their energy improves, and the way that they are responding to their barriers outside of the gym is more helpful. So then that creates a little bit more motivation and desire and meaningful connection to training as one of their support pillars in the gym.
100%. What I'm hearing, like often for the ones when they're getting started, it feels like it's very heavy lifting on their behalf, not to make a gym pun there. But,
nice.
It feels like it takes a lot of willpower, and they kind of have to like fight an uphill battle to get started. But what we do see when you do have the right pieces of the puzzle in place, and this is what we're going to talk about in this episode here, to get the ball rolling, to get that momentum there, is it starts to go from where you're having to do the heavy lifting at the start to then you've got some momentum. And then your actions are kind of built a bit more on the purpose and what you're trying to build towards, the person that you're building back to becoming again. Often for the mums there is like feeling like themselves again. Like they've gone through, and I sat down with one of our clients the other day, Sally, she's just been on, we've chatted up on the Instagram the other day. And the big key thing is she said that she looked in the mirror and she went, that's not who you are. This isn't who I am here. And since getting back in the gym, she's got that spark back. She's got that fire, and she's now chasing down records in the gym because she's a savage. So she's ripping in, but that's the fire that she's got going because she's got through that initial hurdle. And it does feel like there's that uphill battle. So when you are getting started, we're going to roll our way through what are some of the key frameworks that we'll look at as a means of how we're going to take that weight, take that burden off the mums and help them take the heavy lifting out of the way, that it seems like everything is the heavy lifting work to get themselves going. What are those pieces that we start to work with the mums in their mindset to get the ball rolling, get that momentum moving, and make it a little bit easier for them to balance it all and then still put themselves first?
Yeah, 100%. So when, the mums have been coming in and they get a little bit of momentum happening, it's really important. And one of the things I love to do, and that I want to make an effort to do more of even into the future, is getting those mums straight away in for our strategy sessions. And one of the core modalities I like to use is acceptance and commitment therapy, because it's very workable and fits a lot of our factors in our life. It can be spread across career, social, personal relationships, et cetera, health and whatnot. So in the strategy session, we'll talk about values. And for me, it's like the mum is already doing such a big, courageous and brave action in coming to the gym in the first place. She understands to some degree that she needs to look after herself in order for her to look after her kids for a multitude of reasons. So we want to get that system set up that meet yourself where you're at, try your best to create momentum. Then when we get to the strategy session phase of their journey, it's okay, let's try and look at who you are as a person and what is meaningful to you, what matters to you the most. And that's where values come in. So I like to operate from the definition from acceptance and commitment therapy that values are our deepest desires for how we want to behave, how we want to treat ourselves, treat other people, and also treat the world around us. So I really want to foster that clarity and really help them understand what their values are. So most of the time when people come into my strategy sessions, I'll say, so what are your life values? And most of the time it'll catch them off guard. So for any potential members or members listening, you can expect that in a strategy session from me. And that's because I want to understand you on a meaningful level and how we can then foster your values in the gym. So for example, I think you and I spoke about this in our last episode, Jacob, but just give me an example of what your core values are.
You've already hit me with this. We're not repeating. We're on to the next one.
No, it's for the listeners.
Yeah.
Just one word statement. Go. You can do it.
Integrity.
Yeah, 100%. So often I find with people when they talk about their values, they're really great at describing the actions or the expressions, but they'll have difficulty identifying the one-word statements. So exactly what you just said there, integrity. Others that we can find are like love, honesty, and also when we think about the fitness side and the strength side of this factor of their life, it's health. Yeah, so we want to get clear of like, all right, if right now what is meaningful to you is your health, what does that value look like in a behavior-based action? So coming to the gym is a behavior-based action that gets you to a place where you then can positively model and function and engage with your life outside of the gym walls. So they become more of a participant in their life instead of being in that parenthood mode of survival and autopilot, which we find ourselves in a lot of the time. So yeah, it's getting clear about their values and helping extract the behaviors, giving them clarity over what their behaviors and actions look like, and that the gym is one of them.
Do you feel like that's something that pops up when you're having these with maybe they haven't identified the word statements, but then like linking that to something that they can create as a habit or action? There's like they don't know what that would look like, because I think a lot of people have. I think inherently from a psychology standpoint, we have. There's obviously a broad range, but there's a lot of consistent values across people. But
for sure,
probably particularly like depending on your upbringing and stuff like that as well, it's going to influence it there. But then getting it down to like something that they can come back to as a reset for them, and I think that's a really valuable thing in what you said there, is having what's the behavior that's attached to it. So say for me with integrity, one of the ones that we've come across recently is like say do as like a two-word statement, but it's like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do that thing, and that's being the thing that I can just trigger myself back to of going, okay, cool, this is how I can make sure that I'm in alignment with that value there. And I feel like that's a gap a lot of time for some people. They know that they value family, but you can't really, how does that look like you can't do family?
Yeah, exactly. What is it? What are the desired qualities? What are the desired experiences or the moments of family that you enjoy the most? So there can be questions that we can ask to get deeper. Yeah, 100%. Before we move on, so, it's a lot of the time people will come in and they'll probably have a rough idea of what a value is, but most of the time in my experience with the people I work with, they may not be 100% clear over what the behavior looks like. So giving them that strategy session offers 20 to 30 minutes for us to get really clear about that. And when we think about values, they are intrinsically motivating. They are something inward and something that we can control and change and embody and lean into every single day. And that's very workable. There's a lot of flexibility and freedom. We have autonomy over how we act and the choices that we make. So the main thing I love about values is that, but also too, it's more fulfilling. People have so much potential to feel and experience and grow by coming to the gym from a values-based perspective. It's not about just coming in and lifting that weight and throwing it about. It's how does this align with my values and how does this help me become the person I'm trying to become for myself first and foremost, for my kids, for my husband or my partner, even in the workspace and in my life outside the gym.
So say we've got somebody just come through and they've just gone in, they've dialed in what their values are, they've come up with the actions or behaviors that are going to be linked to that there. And what's some easy tools if it feels like some of those behaviors might be hard to do, and when we're now doing the juggle, where do they start in that way there? I've got an idea.
Yeah, throw it.
The 5-minute rule you taught me about earlier. What's the 5-minute rule?
So the 5-minute rule, I believe it comes from positive psychology, but it's probably used across a lot of different modalities. There's 2 different ways that you can approach the 5-minute rule. The first one is you can set yourself a 5-minute timer to take action on something. And by the time you start that process, if after 5 minutes you're like, oh, I can just probably keep going. Like, I've done 5 minutes. I'm already invested. I might as well keep the momentum going. So it's a nice momentum kickstarter. And then the other way that we can approach the 5-minute rule is around consistency in productivity and taking action. So you set yourself a 5-minute timer. Say, for example, I'm going to wash the dishes. I'm going to, you know what? My house is overwhelming right now. There are so many things in my mental to-do list. I'm going to spend 5 minutes just washing these dishes, and then I'm going to move on and start doing some laundry. So it's a nice way to create some consistency across whatever it is that you're doing with the 5-minute rule there.
I like how you added about the dishes, like, because our house is spotless all the time, right? No.
Oh, I wish. That would be great.
Cool. So if this is, we're talking to the person that's they're in the car, they're listening to this on their drive home, what should they go about? Like, how do they apply this stuff right now? I'm thinking the best steps for them is like, one, don't write while you're driving. Don't grab your phone. Probably just pull over first. We know who you are. And the first couple of things is like trying to get clear on their values, kind of creating like a framework, a tree of what their values are for number one there, and then associating what is an action that's or a behavior that's actually in alignment with those values, right? That they can do, so they can showcase that they can come back to when they need to put themselves back in alignment with that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else? What other tools would you tell the person that's like they've already pulled over now? They're listening to me, and this is you're the expert here. So what should they actually do?
Well, give me a little bit more clarity on the question.
Like what's the step for the listeners at home? What's the step that they could do from this here, from what we've just talked about? So getting clear on their values, their actions, those things. How are they going to do that? What should they do at home now?
Yeah. Okay. So if we talk about the values and we're trying to extract behaviors, so they could spend 5 minutes every day, whether it's at the start of their day or at the end of the day. What I would encourage people to do with that 5 minutes is just do a little bit of self-reflection on how did I act in alignment today with my values, and then just do a little self-check-in. How did I feel as a result of embodying and leaning into and operating from the values that I've set myself for the gym as a part of that journey. So just having 5 minutes every day can accumulate over the week, and then over a week's time, essentially want to be able to see that we are making progress and that we are having opportunity to feel more fulfilled and extract more potential from the process.
So if we go on that just quickly, what if they've gone through, they've got their values down, they've got their actions, but then they're going through and they're doing their journaling on this, and they go, you know what, I didn't actually do anything that was in alignment with this value today. What's the next step? Schedule it for the next day?
Well, yeah, still keep the habit going. You still want the habit to go throughout the week. I think it's realistic, and probably most people are going to experience that discomfort because the brain is very wired to focus on what is not going well and what is negative. Innately, our brain is wired that way on purpose for survival, even though we're no longer living, in a hut in the bush and running away from lion, tigers, and bears. So we want to acknowledge that our brain is innately wired to focus and hyper-focus for some of us on what's not going well. So we can expect that at the beginning of any habit.
100%. And you're not going to be 100% perfect all the time, right? So I think there's something one of the things that I come back on is like a day's a mishap, like it happens, the world can get in the way. 2 days in a row is the start of a streak, and 3 days is a trend. So the ultimate guide there is you don't miss two. So if there's something that you've missed on day one, you make sure that you schedule that in, you lock it in. And that could be as simple as like, okay, cool. Health is one of those things. So what do you do for your health? I'm going to make sure I get my 10,000 steps in is my action there. It's like you missed it on the first day, make sure you get it in the second day. Figure out how you're going to get that walk in to make sure you can be on top of it. Just as a simple way of like, because if you can break it before it becomes a streak, we can start the trend going the opposite way. The trend going in the way that's actually helping you move towards the person that you want to become.
Yeah, 100%. If we touch on who you're becoming, essentially this is a transition. So if a mum comes to the gym and they're starting this journey, we need to hold the vision over who they're becoming and then give them the systems, give them the tools that allow them to step into that person every time they're in the gym. So with the values, we want to be able to help them, make time to understand exactly what their values are, what the behaviors look like, and to just consistently check in on that as a system or a strategy that they can access, or a resource even outside of the gym moving forward. So we want to be able to make sure that they're clear about who they're becoming. So values is a really great anchor for building identity.
Cool. And let's go into the motivation world. I want to touch on, there's 3 key pieces of a concept in motivation. I want you to hit us with it.
Yep.
That are really important and can be really easily tied in to showcase maybe why things haven't worked for you in the past. If you've tried this out, the person who's fallen off the wagon after the first week, or they've started over too many times, and maybe something here is the piece that's missing. So let's hit it with us, Jess. What's the framework that we're going to be covering here, and how do we teach it?
100%. I think before I hit on or touch on that, I want to make clear that it doesn't matter if you're starting in a gym journey, you're becoming a parent for the first time, in some way, shape or form, we're going to experience the moments where maybe in our childhood we had unmet needs. So this could be emotional needs, psychological needs, physical safety needs, et cetera, et cetera. So when we come into motivation, we're going to learn a lot about what we're good at, what we're not good at, and patterns that we've developed from our childhood. So this is actually a framework that I learned from Claire, one of our awesome mums on our team. And for any of the members listening, remember we did a workshop on it, but feel free to start this conversation with her in the gym as well. I can only speak to what I can briefly understand that Claire shared with me. However, self-determination theory. So it's a motivational theory that emphasizes the importance of feeling competent, having autonomy, and having a shared sense of connection, which in this framework is relatedness. So it highlights the importance of fostering psychological well-being and intrinsic motivation, which is internal motivation. So if we hone in on just those three components, so autonomy, which is the sense that someone has control over their own actions. Relatedness, which is your ability to feel connected to someone or something, but then also be cared for by others. So that's a really big one that we want to be fostering for the mothers when they come in, as well as our clients across the board. And then competency, which is essentially your ability to feel capable and to have self-mastery. So our self-belief and through self-efficacy. So
how do we apply this in the gym?
Yeah.
I know this is something that's really well built into the coaching world in the gym setting. So how does this sort of apply?
How I make sense of these, right? And they feel very workable. I think inner critic. So for most of us, we have that negative self-talk or that inner critic in our mind that says we don't do this well, we haven't done that well, this feels uncomfortable, we should avoid that. All those sorts of thoughts that come up when we get put into a new situation that we feel underprepared for. So as a new mum, even myself coming back to training, I felt so out of place. I felt foreign in my body, things weren't moving the same way. Essentially, I felt like a complete beginner, even though I've been a personal trainer for 14 years. So if we apply that framework to that kind of experience, so when someone comes in, whether they're coming back from an injury, whether it's a new mum trying to become this new strong version of her, there's going to be that level where they may not feel competent. They may feel like, and obviously you can relate to this being a parent and every parent listening to this, but there's little you have control over. So the gym is about helping them foster a space where they have autonomy, they have control, because there's so much outside of their life and our life that we have no control over. And then, like I said earlier on in this episode, the relatedness and connection is in motherhood, and I can only speak to the mums and myself in this experience, is it can be really isolating. There are so many different levels of change that happen socially, environmentally, psychologically, physiologically. There's so much change. And often when things feel so overwhelming and you're burnt out or you're, flattened under that mental mother load, there's little time and space that it feels like you have access to connect with other people. Being cared for and connecting to is a big opportunity in the gym. We're looking after mums. That's our role, or my role that I'd like to play, is that when mums come in, I want to look after them, help them feel cared for. When they come in, I want to foster their connection so they can build a community where they don't feel isolated and they can relate. So there'd be some of the examples that I'd share, specifically more to towards the mums.
100%. And I think if you look at in the coaching frameworks of getting started in the gym, and for somebody ultimately, when you look at those three things, like from an autonomy perspective, like we want to give people a choice on what they're going to do. So like, what is it you want to achieve? Like, I want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not here to do heaps of burpees and just get flogged. It's like, if that's what somebody's coming back into the gym for, I'm like, I'm not going to give them burpees like for a while. Like eventually we're going to get there.
Yeah.
But to get started, like I want you to be like, we're part of this process together. And I think that's where a lot of, sometimes coaches miss the boat, is they feel like they have to be the expert, but that goes in contradiction to this framework of motivation. So you want to be co-pilot for your clients on these, for the mums, for the dads that are getting into the gym. Like our job isn't to be the dictator that tells them what it is there. We want to be co-pilots on this thing where they're making decisions. Hey, like, how do you feel about trying this today? Did you want to bench, or did you want to do squats today? Where are you at today? Because somebody, if they don't have the mental space for it, if it's been a full on day and they don't want to go through a tough, like a fully intensive session, but they're just happy to be there because they know they're going to walk out feeling better. Like, I'm going to give them the option to go, you know what, I really like doing bench. I just want to hit that today. Sweet. We can work with that there. Yeah.
Just on that note too, like with mums, obviously our brain capacity can be different given what we've had to overcome or work through on any given day. So when we come to the gym, especially if it's like a nighttime, we might be brain dead. So for us, the biggest win is just walking through the doors, completion of the session, and then leaving. So I think mums coming into the gym, and also personal trainers training mums, having that awareness and also wisdom to just stop and check in. Like, how are you feeling today? How's the body? How's your mental capacity? Based off their answers, we can then say, cool, I want you to focus on completion of the session today. That's going to be your win. If their energy is high, they're feeling strong, they aren't sleep deprived, they're like, sweet, send it on these squats, send it on these deadlifts, go for it. And that's where their value lies.
They've got the choice on that. That's the important part, right?
Yes.
It's like they don't have to stress about, if I turn up today, Jacob is going to absolutely flog me. Like,
they might want that, obviously.
Yeah, but if they want it, they're choosing it.
Yes,
and
it's the choice.
That's the part, is they have choice in that there. The second piece, competence wise, like, going to let you guys in on a little secret. So if you're listening in on this here, if you're at the first session with me, I'm probably going to grab weights that are a little bit too light for you, because I want to show you that you can do things. I want to prove to yourself, like, oh shit, I can do this one. It's like, I think you can probably handle a bit more. Do you think you can handle more? Yeah, I can actually.
Yeah.
And walking out of the room there by being able to do something more than what you thought you were capable of gives you that sense of competency. So little trick there. I think some people, when they're getting started in the gym, and sometimes young trainers, and not to take away from them, but they feel like they need to showcase their value, and they do that by like picking up on where you have problems. So for somebody who's already struggling with motivation here, they don't need to have the problems picked out at them. They don't need to be made to be feel less capable than they are. They're already coming to you because they know that they need help. They don't need you to push on that there, but it's somewhat of a sales tactic that's worked in the past. Is like, oh, if I show you all your problems and I tell you that I've got the solutions here, then you'll come and pay me. For what actually helps somebody is doing the opposite initially, like helping, like you're going to identify the problems, but don't go and slam them in their face. Go and start with a way that we can go, okay, cool, I'm going to show you some momentum here, and I'm going to show you that you have the capacity to do this, that you can be more, that you can achieve things. And then off the back end of that, once you've got buy-in, once you've got momentum, then you can go, hey, look, Jess, I think we really need to put some extra effort into this thing here. Is going to be really beneficial for this goal that you've got here. How do you feel about that? They're on board at that point. They're ready to go. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then ultimately the relatedness piece is like, that's why group classes, that's why semi-private personal training is really valuable. And then even just having a coach that's there in your corner, like you've got to have that level of rapport amongst yourself, the people that you're working around. And ideally, we've spoken about in one of the previous episodes, like that multi-tiered accountability and rapport, where you've got accountability to both the coaches, you've got people in that community there that are alongside you, and then you've got people that are newer than you that you want to help along the journey and pull them up too. So I think that's ultimately what we want to look for in that relatedness concept, and that's why we shape our programs the way that we do. Like, it's not just by like default. It's like, oh, we do group classes for this. It's like, it's by design, because we want to get the best outcomes for people, and this is what we know is the way that we do that.
Yeah, no, I agree with all the above. I want to quickly touch back on competency. I think what maybe we can create some clarity around just now is that when we come into something new, and this is not just for mums, but we come into the gym and we're not feeling competent or capable, we can expect that cycle of inner critical thoughts to come up. So, when you were talking about giving them weights that we can confidently know they can do, helps to not override, but work through those difficult thoughts and feelings that can often come up when we're put in situations that are uncomfortable. And I think with negative self-talk is the framework I really enjoy that I think is really psychologically workable is that inner critic and self-talk is cyclical. So we'll be often in stages of our life where we feel like we're thriving and things are going really well. We might not, those negative self-talk and those thoughts might not be as loud. So if you imagine a radio, so when we're in phases of our life that are changing, uncertain, perhaps the radio is really loud and our mind is consumed with those thoughts. When we're in times where we're thriving, perhaps the radio is really low. So they might still be present, but they're just not as loud. They're not taking up as much space in our mind. And so when you come into the gym, we can expect that, with your competency, you're a complete beginner. So the radio might be really loud at that time. I think it's important to create space that not every thought is true, and we also don't need to always listen to those thoughts. So from a training perspective, essentially we want to come into that session and think, how can we keep that radio low, build their confidence and give them some sense of empowerment, and that the potential for them to work and get stronger is 100% possible. It's a possibility.
And I've got one last thing to add to this before we start wrapping this up, because I do have kids pick up very soon.
Yes, you do.
So on that there, one of the things that I think is really important and to do with that, like how loud the radio is of that self-talk, is where you put your focus towards. If you're constantly focusing on like where you were before you had kids, or before when you were younger and before your career got in the way and then you had all the extra time to train, if your focus is on the gap from where you want to be or where you want to get back to, it's going to be real loud. But if it's on where you are in the journey right now and just where you've come from this point where you've just decided to start. And for some people, that might be the fact that you decided to start. Like that, from that point forward, that's a positive step. And if you look at it from that perspective and from that time frame, it's a lot easier to have that the volume down on that negative self-talk when you're living in the gain of how far you've come since that point there, rather than the gap from where you used to be or where you want to be, or wherever the comparison point is that you're looking towards. And I think that's a really important piece, is like how you perceive and where you're measuring from really matters.
Yeah, 100%. And on negative self-talk, like obviously this is a mindset perspective, is that I think there often can be, well, there is actually, I can say it with certainty, this desire to get rid of negative self-talk. And this could probably be a whole episode separate to this. But we can never get rid of our thoughts like that. It doesn't work that way. So all we can do is learn how to open up space for uncomfortable thoughts, whether that's with a safe person or we've got strategies in our toolkit. But first of all, realizing that we probably need to open up space and sit with that. And then if we have the capacity, we can actually look at our thoughts of, how can I learn from this? What lessons lie in wait for me here? And then we get that autonomy and that competency to turn the radio up and down based on the phase of life that we're in, or the situation, like coming in and lifting heavy weights, which make us feel uncomfortable.
Right. I love it, Jess. Great way to wrap up here. So if you're listening at home, if you're in the car on the way through, what I do want you guys to like isolate and just double down on, write this down, is your first step is looking at your values, assessing what are the actions and behaviors that you can take off the back end of that. And then keep a values journal. How are you acting inside of your values today? If you need to then reassess, then you can go through. Just don't miss twice. Don't, just make sure that the next day you hit that one that you missed. Don't miss twice on that there. Our second piece there is set up and structure in that framework, that self-determination theory, in a way that can actually help support your goals. So we're looking, the first piece there, making sure you've got autonomy. We're building in competence and our relatedness and our connection alongside that. And then also, as Jess just said, it's like we want to set up and know that you're going to have negative self-talk there. Try to pivot and focus where your attention's going from where you've come to get to this point, not so much of the gap that you feel like you're trying to work towards. Anything else to add, Jess?
Yeah, I just say that with your values, come back to the definition that I really enjoy and that works for a lot of people. So when you're trying to discover your values, it's in your behaviors and your actions. So what are your deepest desires for how you want to act and behave and show up in the world? What are the desired qualities? 100% on board with the values journal once you get clear from that. And just remember with your negative self-talk, we can't control when our thoughts come into our mind, but we can learn to observe them once they are there. And then once we build our competency in that skill, we then have more autonomy over the choices we make and which thoughts we turn up loud and which thoughts we turn down low.
Love it. Awesome. If you are listening, you've loved this and you want to find out more, make sure to send us a message on Instagram at Newstrength HQ with the DM StrongMum, and we'll send you through Jess's StrongMum mindset guide that she's been putting together. It's a really great resource covering what we've done here, a bunch of other tools that can help you in your journey of getting back to feeling like yourself again, reclaiming yourself and moving towards the goals that you have and the vision that you have for your life moving forward. So that's us for this week of the Newstrength Way. Thanks again to Jess for jumping on, and we'll see you guys next week.